Hello everyone, welcome to what's happening in Brazil. Let's start looking at the most recent news from the country.
Former governor of São Paulo state, João Doria gave up running for the presidency. The announcement was made on May 23rd. Doria had won the opinion poll of the Brazilian Social Democracy Party last year, but was met with resistance in his own party. Doria was one of the bats for the third way, which are candidates who intend to oppose the polarization between Lula and Bolsonaro, the two contenders leading the voting intentions. It is now likely that Senator Simone Tebet, from the Brazilian Democratic Movement, may be chosen. She has held elective positions for 20 years and gained national prominence last year during Brazil's COVID Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry. Meanwhile, Lula tries to get more support from the center and center-right parties. Currently, Lula has the support of 7 political parties. With Doria out of the presidential race, analysts predict higher chances of Lula winning in the first round. This is because among Doria's supporters, the rejection of Bolsonaro is 77%, while the rejection of Lula is 62%. Time magazine elected Indigenous leader Sônia Guajajara as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. To Sônia, international recognition is an achievement for all people who actively participate in the indigenous struggle in Brazil. It is also fundamental to make visible the fight against backlash and the withdrawal of rights, which intensified after Jair Bolsonaro won the election. Sônia Guajajara was a vice presidential candidate in the 2018 elections. This year, she will run for federal deputy. To face the agribusiness caucus in Congress, Sônia's idea is to create a cocar caucus. The name refers to a head adornment common among native peoples in Brazil. Currently, there is only one parliamentary from the native peoples in Brazil, federal deputy Joênia Wapichana.
In the October elections, a new group of supporters of President Jair Bolsonaro will try to get a seat in the Congress. These are names that gain projection on social media platforms, frequently through anti-science and hate speech.
A new wave of Bolsonarist candidacies to Congress will try to take advantage in the October elections of the strife and confusion stimulated by President Jair Bolsonaro and his supporters. An example of this is Dr. Nisi Yamaguchi, blamed in the final report of Brazil's COVID Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry for her role as an advocate of quote-unquote early treatment with chloroquine and who is now running for the Senate. She represents science denialism, which is one of the ideological flagships of the Bolsonarist right in recent years.
You have these elements, so who's the anti-LGBT representative? Who's the arms representative? Who's the representative of truck drivers, the family?
Loyalty to Bolsonaro and to the conservative agenda are characteristics that unite the new candidates, such as former volleyball player Mauricio Souza, who made homophobic statements. The support they receive online is also fundamental.
No caso do grupo mais aliado ao presidente, tem aquela meia dúzia.
In the case of the president's closest group of supporters, half a dozen names managed to quickly rise because there is a kind of inherent solidarity in the way individuals try to defend some agendas. The idea is that those defending these ideas are some sort of heroes trying to enforce that information, that truth.
Despite the Supreme Electoral Court seeking cooperation agreements with the big companies of this sector, the online environment is still a lawless land.
The internet is a place where inspection is much more difficult because you can be looking at messages published in closed groups that can be later be published in larger groups.
The elections have to give us an answer about it. So, after 4 years of what has been happening, inflation, hunger, COVID, all this, is there still a chance for such a view on things to proliferate, or did the situation change a bit?
Portuguese isn't the only language Brazilians speak. The country has more than 270 languages spoken by 300 different indigenous people. To native people, teaching of their mother tongues is a way to keep alive their cultures and tackle racism.
It is in the Constitution that indigenous school education has to be intercultural, bilingual, and differentiated. In the southern part of Amazonas state, we met Fredeilton from the Apurinan people. He is one of the indigenous educators in the city of Lábrea. He explains that in the most isolated indigenous villages, teachers have to assume an indispensable role in the community's life.
Indigenous teachers are teachers, janitors, lunch servers, and quite often, doctors. Also, we feel such a love for the kids, for our students, that we play the role of parents.
Their salaries, paid by the city administration, are low and not up to the challenge. To reach the farthest communities, they have to travel on boats for 5 days, and when teachers get there, they usually face an insufficient infrastructure.
In many cases, the school environment isn't suitable for classes. Rooms are small and you have to teach while preparing meals for students, which is complicated. But as indigenous teachers, we resist because we are strong.
This region has a pioneer in indigenous school education. 74-year Apurinan teacher João Batista da Silva, also known as João Baiano. He learned his people's language during childhood, a period in which many indigenous individuals were ashamed of speaking their language in the city due to racism. This prejudice is far from being overcome. However, the teaching of the Apurinan people's mother tongue contributed to making them proud of their culture. João Batista's 17-year granddaughter learned the Apurinan language at school with her grandpa. Happy to know a language that was silenced in the past, Viviane makes an invitation.
Amo a Sankiriwata Pupikari Sankiri,
which means in English, let's learn the Apurinan language.
The recipe we present you today comes from Pantanal, a biome located in the states of Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul. It consists of hardy beans with cubes of meat.
Today's recipe is hearty beans with meat prepared in a pressure cooker, which is a traditional dish in the Pantanal region. Cook the beans in a pressure cooker with 1 bay leaf. To season the meat, I used a spice mix that has black pepper, cumin, coriander, and a lot of hot pepper. I'm gonna use basil leaves, which are from cilantro's family but smell like carnation. I also add to the mix a bit of turmeric. It's now that I'm adding salt to the meat. I left it to marinate a bit in the seasons, and only when it will be cooked I'll add salt. The beans are here, set aside, already cooked in the pressure cooker. Now I'm gonna brown all the meat cubes and then I'm gonna cook them in the same pressure cooker I used to cook the beans. A thing that makes the meat have this nice crust is to add a little bit of brown sugar when you're seasoning the meat. In addition to giving color to the meat, it helps to balance its flavor. It is all this together that makes this meat and beans so special. Once the meat cubes are golden brown, transfer them to the pressure cooker, but don't discard what's left in the frying pan. The pan has all this flavor stuck in its bottom, and I'm going to make the sautéed with it. Add onion, diced bell pepper, cilantro stems, and parsley. Also garlic and pepper. Then it is time to add diced tomatoes. Keep braising them. Transfer the sautéed to the pressure cooker, add tomato puree and basil leaves. Pour water so that what is stuck in the bottom releases and transfer it all to the pressure cooker. Pour more water until it covers the meat. Close the pan and let it cook for 20 minutes. Open the pan, add the cooked beans and let it boil to thicken the broth, but without pressure. After it, you must place what you prepared in a serving dish and finish it with the chives and cilantro.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.